Missy, how have you been?
Fine. You?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, usual.
Celine has stopped talking to me because she's made another friend, so yeah. But that's fine, so whatever. No, it's not a problem. It's just really annoying because, like, it's not like I did anything wrong.
No.
And, like, if I did do something, like, I'd rather be told. Like, I don't have a problem if you just tell me what I've done, but she just, so, whatever.
And then also now, because, like, I'm here today, so I'm not going to be back in until Monday. So then she's going to talk to them, and then they're going to have loads in common. And then by the time I go back there, then we're not going to speak anyway. So she'll have made all these friends, and then I'm trying to do something that's good, and then I get punished because then I'm on my own again. And then I just stand there with all these sheets and, like, uniform, and they're all the same. And then they're laughing about stuff that doesn't matter and talking about visits and, like, letters that they got from their family, like, with no sensitivity. Like, it's not like they've asked me or like, even considered that. Like, Celine knows that I don't even get anything through, but it's not a problem because she can talk about how wonderful her mum is and everything, and, like, how they're doing her room up when she comes out, but it's not a problem because obviously I should be totally fine with that.
Yeah, and then you sit and you sit and you sit, and there's a lot of time you have to think about it.
I can't even get upset about it because it's not actually a proper friendship and we've got nothing in common. And so there's no point trying to, like, pretend that something's important or that someone cares. Like, you wouldn't even care if I wasn't in here. You wouldn't give two tosses. You wouldn't even know my name. You wouldn't even, like, have met me because, let's be honest, I'm not going to John Lewis, am I? And you're not going to Poundland.
Yeah, that's all there. But still, I mean, the way it has happened, we're here and now you are talking to me.
Yeah, but it could have been the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's not.
No.
What, because you got lucky and I didn't?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that's not fair then, is it? But now I have to sit here and listen to all this stuff and talk about all my problems and all my feelings. Like, you don't have to talk about your feelings to no one. But I have to sit here and tell you all about my stuff, about how I haven't got any letters. Or how my mum hasn't visited me for 6 months? Yeah, like 6, 7 months.
You're trying hard, aren't you? Because you have all this stuff going on and you're trying to control it. Because in the end, sort of, you don't want to be here, do you?
No. It sucks.
Like, I was thinking the other day, just in my bunk, if I could have any food in the world, what would I have? Like, if you could have anything right now, like, what would you have? Like, not crap in a tray, but, like, anything in the world, and you could go anywhere and have, like, any food, what would you have? No, I'm asking you, what would you have?
Just to have sort of...
Yeah, just to have, like, a treat.
For pleasure, for fun, like
Yeah, because you can. Like, a piece of food, like an apple. Or, like,
Probably go for ice cream.
Nah, I'd be like... One place that I was staying at, they used to give us, like, I didn't like rhubarb because it's, like, it tastes rubbish. But they used to stew it and stuff, and then they give it to us with rice pudding. Like, I think I'd probably have that. That was kind of nice. Actually, they had a really nice house. They were quite nice.
So do you think you can sort of get on with this a little bit, that you can control yourself and how you are about it?
About...
Well, about you, the day-to-day and how it is.
Well, yeah, because I'm still here, aren't I? I'm not in, like, a mental ward, so obviously I'm controlling something.
Mm-hmm.
I just get really frustrated because it's like, even though I've got my job and stuff, but then it's like the same thing because it's all the same sheets, isn't it, all the time, and the same people. And then that's unfair as well. Because actually, like, they say I've got a privilege because I've got a job, which is great, cool, yeah, that's great. But then someone else messes up, or, like, they've got to do something like, oh, yeah, I'm going to cut myself or soil or in the bed, and then I have to clean it up. So actually, you're paying me, but actually you're just using me, so that's punishing as well. So, like, just, you're doing really well. Here, clean these sheets. or you're doing really well, look at the same colours all over again while everyone else talks, and you just sit there on your own listening to nothing. Then you go back to your bunk because you missed something because you had work, or you didn't book onto some class, or you took the library book back wrong so they've delayed it. Like, I'm waiting anyway, and I've got to wait another 2 weeks to read some book. And then what? So I just sit there in silence doing nothing. So that's fine. And then I'm totally in control. But then I'm just sitting there and thinking about everything. And then it just pisses me off. I actually can't remember the last time someone said well done to me. Like, is that too hard? It's not even like 2 words. It's like well done, 2 syllables.
Was it so much better before you went to prison?
Like, what,
Well,
like...
when you were at school, before you had all this stuff starting? You once or twice said that you didn't really sort of like it at school, and what your life was like then.
It was quite nice because I could go where I wanted.
You were freer, weren't you? Yeah. But in terms of people telling you well done.
Well, I had like one teacher that used to say well done in my art class. But I didn't always go because people used to make fun of me, so it didn't really... Like, it was nice because I quite liked art and stuff, but it's not nice when everyone makes fun of you because your uniform's like dirty and old, or like... It just was bad in different ways. And then... But like, this is the thing, like, if there was a problem, I could just go and do what I wanted to do, or like deal with it how I would deal with it. Whereas here, I can't actually deal with it. Like, if you just want to be on your own and then just getting on with something else, you can't be on your own because there's always like someone watching you, or someone saying something, or someone screaming or playing their music, or they've got to do something. Whereas like, I could go for a walk in the park, or like go and get a drink, or like see my boyfriend, or maybe like visit my brother or whatever. But I can't really do that, and because no one comes to visit me, so it's like...
And what do you think? You've probably changed, haven't you? Because it's quite a few years now you've been locked up.
Yeah.
You were a different person than when you last were out free.
I think I might have been nicer.
You're nicer than you think?
Yeah, because it makes you like really hard. I think I was probably looked after myself a bit better. Because like, you can't really do that here. Like, you can't have tweezers and stuff like that. Or like nail varnish and stuff. But yeah.
But looking after yourself, I mean, I said earlier, you are doing your best here. You're controlling yourself. You keep your privileges. You do your work. I mean, there was also before, when you were younger, there was a bit of chaos. I mean, you had freedom. You could sort of spend things on what you wanted. But I'm not sure that at that time your life worked so well. But it was not so easy for you then, either, in some way, what you've told me about it.
But it was kind of like, I chose it, so I couldn't really moan about it, because like, I did the things, I chose to do them. So, like, you can't moan about it if you choose it. Like, I chose to do that, and that was that.
You had a few friends then, but you more or less lost them, huh?
Yeah, well, they didn't really like some of the choices that I made, like we were saying last time about the stuff with that boyfriend, and then the stuff that went on, and they kind of disapproved, and I didn't really want to listen, and like, they all had boyfriends, and so I kind of wanted to have one as well. I don't know if I actually really liked him that much. Like, he was quite good looking. Like, I had a friend, Emily, and she used to fancy him. That's probably why I don't think I actually did. And then they kind of disagreed with what we were doing, and like, yeah.
But you got in trouble now and then also with sort of
Yeah.
fighting and some sort of...
Yeah, because people are horrible. Like, literally everywhere, I hate people. And you try and be calm, and you're like, it's all fine, whatever, like, it's cool, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to say anything. And then it's just like, shut the up. And then they just won't stop.
Well, that's why I think that you're doing well here at the moment. because there's almost more difficulties and more ways you need to control, more frustration and wardens and things you need to get right and things doing on time.
So how can I be doing well if I'm not actually progressing? Like, if you were at school and you were doing really well, then you go to the next year and then you get an A or a B or whatever. But like, so you've got things like you're doing well and you're getting somewhere, or like you're gonna go to get a job and make some money. Like, I'm not, like, I'm just like doing well, but I'm still in the same place. It's not like my bed's moved.
But you're going to get out.
Yeah, but when? When I'm like really old, and then no one will want to talk to me because clearly I've come out of prison.
But you will get out.
Yeah, but then no one will want to talk to me. You wouldn't talk to me if I was out. Like, my friends aren't gonna want to be friends with me 7, 8, 9 years since they last saw me and as a totally different person.
Yeah.
So then what? I'm just gonna get out and be on my own anyway. So I could be in here and be on my own, or I can be out there and be on my own. But either way, I'm gonna be on my own.
Yeah, but you will get your freedom back.
Yeah, but what's the point of having it when everyone's gonna know what I've done?
Well, you will need to start a new life. You've been pretty determined here for so many years.
I don't really want to start a new life. I just like to have someone else's life. Like, be born into like a nice home with like 2 parents and maybe like a couple of siblings, not 3. And maybe just really easy. Like, I'm not jealous.
Yeah, a lot of things you haven't had. How's it been?
So Celine gets to go next week on Wednesday.
But even then, she already was less and less meaningful for you, was she?
Yeah, we don't really talk as much as we used to anyway, so it's like not a big deal, is it? It's kind of annoying that she gets to go and I don't.
No, there'll still be some time. Yeah.
Like, she said she's going to write to me, but I don't think she will. Like, she's not going to visit, which I can understand because I wouldn't want to come back here as well. But I don't want to be, like, expecting her letter and then not get one. It's like, I know that my mum's not going to write, so I just don't think about it. Well, like, I do think about it, but now it's like being given, like, the hope that I might get something, but knowing that I won't get it, but still kind of hoping that I will at the same time. Like, I know that my mum's not going to write, but I still kind of hope that she will, and then every time she doesn't, and then it hurts a bit more, and then now it's going to be 2 people.
Yeah. And otherwise it is same as. There's no change.
No.
Work, the routine, your cell, the wardens.
Yeah, just the same stuff.
How's you feeling about it? How's it from day to day?
Yeah, fine. Just...
It's not fine, really, is it?
I don't really want to be here.
No.
Like, she gets to go and get on with her life, and I have to sit here and not. Like, her mum's gonna pick her up in a car. Like, when I get out, my mum won't pick me up in a car. Like, I don't even know if there's a bus. Or, like, where will I go? Like, she's going home with her mum, and she's got, like, 3 days. Is that right? 5 days. And then it's, like, the same situation that I'm always in. Like, as soon as I start to actually be okay with someone and talk to them, and then it's just me again. Like, my mum did that when I was younger as well. She'd be, like, around for a few days or, like, a couple of months, and that would be really cool. And then she'd just disappear for a few days. And I'd be, like, totally on my own. And then there's no one else to talk to, so it's literally just me, like, sitting there trying to keep shit together. And now I have to just sit on my own, and I don't have anyone to talk to, and no one really understands anyway, so... she can just go as well. And I never used to tell anyone when my mum went. Because then if I told someone, then she wouldn't come back. Or she would come back, but then someone else would be there, so then they might take me, and then I didn't want her to feel how I felt, so...
It's so difficult to be with that.
So it's kind of like I always have to play the mum. Make sure that when people come and check on us, like, that it looks okay, so that I can stay where I am.
Yeah.
But it's not even that great there. So then I spend my whole time in here wishing that I was out there. And then I'm going to go out there. But it'll probably be the same anyway.
Well, it will change when you come out, because, I mean, it is such an enormous jump from how you were when you went into prison, when you come out as an adult on your own, but you come out in a world that you don't know as such.
Yeah, and I don't have anyone that I know out there.
No.
So no one's going to pick me up and look after me. Like, she's getting looked after and I'm not even getting that.
No.
So maybe I should just stay in here. And then they wouldn't even let me stay in here, so...
Maybe you think about it now and then, about sort of staying here, because you know what you can do and behave badly, and that might sort of keep you in longer. Not really a solution now.
I never behave badly.
No. You've so much done your best here.
Yeah, but I did my best out there as well, so...
Yes. And it didn't bring you...
And
that
sometimes
much
your
damage.
best is actually never enough.
No.
So then, why do you have to give your best if your best isn't going to get you anywhere anyway?
And your chance and your hope is always with people, with friends.
Well, your chance is always
boyfriends.
relying on other people because, like, relationships are a two-way thing, like we were talking about the other day. Like, you can rely on someone, and then if they walk away anyway, well, you relied on them, so it's kind of your fault. But you can't control what they do, so why would you rely on someone?
Yeah.
No, that's a question, like, why?
You need hope and...
Yeah, but that's
Hope
crap
against
if it gets
experience.
taken away. What's the point in having hope if you're going to then just get let down every time that someone just disappears?
Well, it is for the hope.
Like, they don't even leave a note.
It's the hope for what you have when you have it.
Yeah, but what if you never have it?
You haven't had much of it, have you?
I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me.
No. But you have had a very difficult time and a very difficult life.
Yeah, but some people have a harder life. Like, some people get bored and they don't even have food and shit. Like, I always had stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of bored of looking after other people.
Yes.
I let someone else do something for me.
You are getting better at caring for yourself here.
Yeah, but I want someone else to do it. I don't really want to always have to be me looking after me and, like, cooking stuff and doing stuff. It'd be quite nice if, like, someone else would do something for me.
Yeah, and not be so alone. You are doing everything right at the moment. You're doing your best in prison. You will get out. You will start a new life. And that's what you have going for you. It's not much, but it's something.
Still more than other people have, right?
Well, you will have your freedom back, and you will be able to do something with it. So we probably have to leave it at this for today. You know how it is. Time. Even these hours. Yeah. But we'll talk again next week. A lot of psychotherapy is about feelings, and there clearly was a lot of feeling, a lot of affect around in both of the sessions. The situation she is in of a very serious crime for a very young person means that something extraordinary must have happened in terms of sort of loss of control. And I think when viewing the two sessions, it's interesting all the time to see what she's trying to do and how many parts in her life she's trying to maintain control and where she is unsuccessful in actually having control over things. You can also see, of course, on the one hand, her great preoccupation with her mother and with being and feeling neglected, which you find in the prison situation, but which also, in fact, probably was there all her life before. But there I needed to contribute something to it because she was not inclined really to connect those two perhaps sufficiently. And the other thing I think stands out is that she completely stayed away from the offense, from the reason why she was in prison, the background, the violence, and in fact from her relationships earlier to boyfriends and men in general, and her father did not come up. Part of the attachment-based approach is to be completely sort of zero pressure on that and let that develop. First have a relationship which is different for her to develop naturally in the therapy, and then see where you can get so that she might be able to start re-evaluating her relationships with men, boyfriends, father, and her victim in a way that she can stay with. One aspect of attachment theory is that it tries to make linkages and has done a lot of research about how attachment security and attachment styles probably build up very strongly in the first year and a half of life. Although very much attachment theory is not deterministic, but believes that you can later in life have substantial changes in your style and in your attachment security. When we think about Lucy and Lucy's attachment style, I would be inclined in the first session to say, well, does she tentatively have more of what is called a preoccupied style? Because she really was outgoing, there was that aggressiveness, there was wanting sort of to involve and sort of hear and get a reaction and a response of the person she's talking with. And that was most of what you saw there. If you then compare that one with the other session, where she was more quiet and more reflective, that was partly because she had built up more security with me and the therapeutic relationship with me, and also more sort of security and safety that the way of working brought something for her. But you could also see that there she got deeper into herself, deeper in contact, and that she got involved in a kind of a wavering conflict between where she was and sort of deep sadness and withdrawal and not wanting at all to think about her life, as well as still some elements of that more outgoing, preoccupied element of wanting somehow to try to get a relationship going. And it is the wavering, the difficulty, the uncertainty between what you can do when you know that you're not secure, when you know that you're not being taken care of, where you then go with your attachment needs, that is typical for the fourth category, which is called sort of unresolved, disorganized, which means that you really did not have, almost certainly as a small child, and still don't have as an adult, an attachment style that really works for you. And it is that looking for how a person behaves in terms of attachment to others, that is what really influences a lot what you're doing. Looking for how a person behaves in terms of attachment to others, that is what really influences a lot what you're doing. At the times I don't do anything, I am fairly sort of blank and just sort of unreactively listening. She needs to do the work herself. She needs to see what happens then. If it then becomes too much, or if at some stage I feel that sort of more of a response would be helpful for her, then I am able and willing and ready to do more in order to help her with the regulation process. So you maneuver a bit between those two positions and look at those two, but you basically let everything sort of come to you and leave a fair bit of the emotional work still being done by her. The two main sort of things that you can see in her attachment style, either the preoccupied style or more sort of unresolved, disorganized, as in the second session, they are both really based on an extremely negative view of self. And there's that negative view of self that in some way in the background, without making it a conscious center of attention to her, but that you try to get involved with, because it fundamentally does not help her, does not sort of work for her. And she underestimates very much and does not see herself that some things are getting better and that she does get more control and that she has matured a lot and she has learned a lot in the past few years from being in this prison environment, which in some ways, probably despite all her feeling that it's awful, has been more stable and more consistent than what her whole mother ever was able to produce for her. There is a great limit to how much you actually can open up and what you can deal with. There is also a great limit to what extent you can leave people in prison you work with suddenly sort of having brought up levels of trauma and out of controlness, and then go back into the prison environment and need to control themselves. So you need to be also relatively careful that you don't do too much. And that is again where the attachment-based of working, I think, is well, because there you stay always in the idea that whatever you do, as long as you have a fairly secure, positive environment in which you create a relationship, and a relationship that is steady and reliable and works, that is going in the long term to have an effect. At least in my experience, the confidentiality and the confidentiality sort of guarantee and basis of psychotherapy can be reasonably maintained in prison. There are some exceptions that under the prison rules, if something would come out or come up that would seem to really be a major security matter, you would need to report on that. But the prisoner would know about that, you would know about that, and it is not dissimilar to some laws that you also have sort of in normal work. I think a big difference is that you have a framework that is not as safe and secure and sound than it normally is and can be. The possibility of interruptions and a very, very strong sensation to the person you're working with that despite sort of a rational sense that confidentiality is still guaranteed, but at any time people could come in, you're still in prison, that I'm part of the establishment and stuff like that. So that limits somewhat the effectiveness and limits the way in which you can be completely available to the person you're working with. The other two biggest emphases always sort of in prison is the sort of the security element. Is the prisoner safe? Is the therapist safe? Could something happen? Particularly in the case of people who are in sort of the severely violent or having killed someone category, could something like that happen? If a therapist feels that they might be attacked by a client, they probably cannot function sort of very reasonably anymore. They cannot mentalize anymore. They get sort of too focused on that. And the same, in fact, for the prisoner, which is why it is so important and so helpful that you can, in the attachment-based style of working, indeed very much focus on not in any way attacking the person you work with, because you believe also theoretically that that would be counterproductive. Not only hope, but expect and trust that at some stage is going to come up. But the way in which you do that and how overtly you move towards that And if there is some reference to it, to what extent you then immediately pick it up and try to amplify it or not, that makes a big difference. Particularly, for instance, with Lucy, I would go very, very slowly about that, because I would be very, very confident in terms of the progress and what is sort of set out here, that she would be getting there, and then at some stage she would be able to see that, because ultimately she is not in a sort of the severest of possible disordered categories. She's a person who has been very, very neglected and has not had proper parental support, and who has a very insecure attachment style. As long as you can slowly introduce more security, you would expect her to be able to self-regulate better and to understand better and re-evaluate what has happened in her life. And that would then allow her to see different possibilities for when she comes out of prison. Because in the end, for me, sort of central purpose of therapy with prisoners still must be the rehabilitation effect and the hope that you make it much, much more likely that when they come out, they don't reoffend again. The rapidness of the switch that there was in that second session, so the rapidity with which she moved from one set of feelings to another one, and also my feeling of sort of the contact with her. So there were moments there that we were relatively attuned. There were moments that she was overwhelmed by her emotions and her, in a way, self-pity, burst out in tears, but that came completely across to me, and that was there and that she could be in that. But at that moment, she was overwhelmed by that, and she was not able to think about anything else than that feeling. So that was a moment that she was out of it. And however small and short that was, in that kind of moment, she would have had very little control over anything else. At that stage, she was sort of crying and vulnerable and feeling bad about herself. But she also has the potential, which you could directionally see a bit more in that first session, of getting sort of preoccupied, agitated, aggressive. If you then combine that with the, for me, almost certain knowledge that she would have been heavily, heavily dissociating when she actually killed the guy that she killed, then you know that there is something you're working towards that is sort of coming, and that one of the most important things that out of this sort of kind of somewhat planned, projected 1.5 years of working with her would be to give her some more practical self-knowledge of what she does and what happens dissociatively, so that she can get that under much better control and see the dangers of it, and would ideally see the role that that has played there, and that she in that way can be a bit safer in that respect. So much throughout her talk with me and in any of that work in the first sort of half year, 9 months or so, would have been completely talking about her environment and the past, and a bit of sort of moaning and complaining, and nothing about having killed someone, nothing about her and men, nothing about the absent father, nothing about the boyfriends, and nothing even about sort of the violence and having been in trouble and what that is, because that, at that stage, she still cannot consciously be with. And the only way in which she can be with that is completely sort of dissociatively, and that also she doesn't do, so then she doesn't do it at all, but it still is then basically blanked out. And it is that blanking out that again is an element of dissociation. It is a complex phenomenon. You need to have both sort of experience and a theoretical concept and look for it, and then you see it. Yeah, but it was, for me, extremely visible in these 2 sessions.